What's up? What's up? What's up? We got Jill
I'm s-
Stanton in the house. Jill, how we doing?
I was so excited. I almost jumped in while you were still starting. I was like, I'm so excited.
Hey, you should have jumped in. We'll do it. We'll do another intro. But I am excited to have you on the show because the last time we chatted, you were living in a different part of the world. I was in the process of
Mm.
writing my third book and interviewing you for that. And now here we are. Lots have changed. I created an entire new business. You've built several new things. So I want to just start here right from the beginning. In the last 2 years,
Mm.
where have you gone from in terms of the work you've done, the places that you've lived to today, and are you fulfilled doing it?
Oh my goodness. So places wise, I since you and I chatted, I was in Toronto, then went to Puerto Rico, then Mexico, then Cayman Islands, and now I'm in Thailand. So I get around, Jake. we like we like to explore, but that's what COVID times will do to you. You just get a little like stir crazy, and we're like, and now here, and here, and here. So it's been really cool. It's been a cool adventure, but I love Thailand. It's like never land for adults. And I just love it. It's so peaceful and such a vibe. And then for things that I've done work wise, I mean, that's probably my biggest evolution. I can't even remember if I was jamming or talking about MGC when you and I first talked, but really I had Screw the 9 to 5 with my husband. We had that for 10 plus years. Then we kind of started a new branch called Wealthy Course Creator. And then during that time, I also had an idea to start my own thing, which was called Millionaire Girls Club, which is luxury retreats and essentially like a year-long bougie social club for women entrepreneurs making 1 million plus. So there's been a lot in motion since you and I chatted.
And this is so good. Okay, I'm going straight into this, Jill. So I hope you're ready.
Let's do it.
With everything, you had this idea. You built Screw the 9 to 5 with your husband, and you're like, I have this new idea.
Mhm.
How did that work in terms of you having the confidence, the communication, the relationship to tell your husband that you want to pursue this and let him kind of run the other side of things? Like, was that a naturally growing evolution, or was it like, I need to step into this person and I need my partner to support me?
So it's funny because I had the idea back in 2019 while we were on a scooter in Ubud, Bali, and it hit me like a lightning bolt, like for real. I was just like, bing, I'm going to run luxury retreats for women at 1 million plus. And I remember telling him on that ride, and he was like, that sounds so cool. When are you going to run the first one? And I was like, ooh, probably never. Like I was just so intimidated by it. And also we had such a good thing going on that I was just like, I would be insane to walk away from this. And also couple that with, I'm trying to release this part of my identity, Jake, but I'll use it for the story. I had like 10 plus years of just really vicious, isolating, humiliating experiences with women through my like most formative years and into my 20s. And so then the idea of holding space for powerful women and like bringing them in close proximity to me, like that triggered all of my stuff. And so I didn't move forward on MGC for like 2 years. Like I was just I was just too intimidated by the vision. I was way too scared of it. I wasn't the version of me who I needed to be in order to run it, but I also could not shake it. Like, even though I resisted it, like deep down, I knew it was my move. Like I knew that this was what I was supposed to do. It is fully in my wheelhouse of relationship building, connecting people, like hosting cool experiences. It is my true strength. And so it was really like probably right after you and I chatted, if not right before, where I was just starting to hit my limit. I was like getting so frustrated by Screw the 9 to 5. And Josh said to me, like, why don't you just go do it? And I was like, it's fine. And it wasn't until 2021 that I finally like started dipping my toe into it. Ran my first retreat in 2022. And then even for that, I went into that being like, I don't know, like we've got such a good thing with Screw and WCC. Like, I'm just going to run this one. And on the first day, people are like, are you going to do this again? Like, what's the plan? And I was like, I don't know, like probably not. Second day, day two, I'm like, I'm all in, bitches. Like I was just in it. I loved it. It was the coolest thing I had ever experienced. It was the easiest thing I had ever done in business, which was also just like such a mind fuck. And I just knew that I felt deeply called to do this, and whoever I needed to become in the process to be the one who leads this, like I was willing to lean into that, even though it's been like truly some of the most uncomfortable shit of my life.
Wow. I mean, I love it. I love it. What did you do to become that person? Like, did you hire certain people? Did you decide to commit to a certain process? Did you build new habits? Like, what was it that you decided once you made the decision to give it a shot?
Mhm.
What did you do to become the person that you needed to be to host these things?
I healed all the inner triggers that were tripping me up. And so that for me was like fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of being attacked, because that was like such a heavy theme for me from like 10 years old till about 20. And so that, like, dude, that was deep seated for me. Right. And so as I started kind of peeling that back and becoming aware of all those things and starting the process of like, kind of like excavating that, healing that so that I could release it, I just realized like how much more was packed onto that. And so really my process was truly like it was all inner game for me. Like, who do I need to become? What are the characteristics? What are the beliefs? What are the decisions she makes? Well, she's not triggered by female relationships. She's deep in her own healing. She's self-aware, emotionally intelligent, a leader. She trusts herself. And so I had to cultivate those characteristics and ways of being in myself in order to become the version of me who leads the Millionaire Girls Club. And then since then, it's been like, I have to take bigger risks. I have to put myself out there. I have to open up conversations. I have to like have sales conversations. I have to, like I have to make bigger asks, which I've always hid behind like, oh, I'm Canadian, I'm too polite, but making strong asks, that's one thing I actually respect the hell out of you for. Like, you're like zero fucks about your asks. And I desire to get even better at that. I am getting slightly better, but I always have room for improvement.
Yeah, and when you talk about this, because you're someone who's pretty transparent and you talk about this shit on social, right? And
Mhm.
and that's something that I respect and admire about what you do is you're like, I'm doing this. The inner game, baby, the inner game.
Mhm.
How did you become aware to the fact of what part of the inner game you needed to work on, right? Because there are people that say, I got triggers, I got this, I got this. Like,
Yeah,
how did you know for yourself who to talk to, who to work with, or how to go inward when you are doing this? Because this is always going to keep happening, right? Like, we're always going to
for
level
sure. It's
up
like an
as we
onion.
keep going, right? But how did you become aware to it to the point where you knew enough to know where to get the right help so that you could really make that growth?
Yeah, I started with books, truthfully. Like I became a really strong reader. And so I started reading things like some of my biggest ones that like truly shifted my life were Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. How perfect to talk about books on this podcast. But Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by
Yeah.
Joe Dispenza. A Happy Pocket Full of Money, which sounds like the most ridiculous title, but it is like such a life shifter. That is David Cameron Giocondi. I Am Enough by Marissa Peer. Like, I just started doing the work. What's her name? Brianna Weist, The Mountain Is You, and 100 Essays That'll Change the Way You Think. I just started like listening and reading and processing my own stuff and like following my own prompts of like, what is it that's tripping me up here? Like, it's pretty easy to figure out where I was going to start. Like, I had terrifying experiences with women. So I was like, let's start there.
Yep.
So my main thing was women will either attack or abandon you. And so that's the one I started with. Like, where does that come from? Why do I believe that? Do I want to hold on to that? Do I have examples of that now in my life? Like, yes, I had that when I was a teenager, but is that really prevalent for me now? Am I the type of person who would allow that to happen to me anymore? Like, there was stuff that I had to work through. And then from there, I started looking at like, who's teaching or coaching or facilitating on this? And now I work with a really great coach / therapist, really. She was a therapist for like 30 something years. But she's like 65. She's like, oh, gee, she's not online. She's just like this underground ace up my sleeve. And she's really helped me in such a huge way. Like so many things. Like she busted out to me a couple of weeks ago. She's like, well, how does it feel to be that insecure? And I was like, I'm not insecure. And she's like, yes, you are. And I was like, no, I'm not. And she's like, yeah. And she starts talking out like her point. And she's like, yes, you are here for these reasons. And I was like, oh my God. Like, just like this beacon of shining light on, certain areas that I can improve. And that stuff has been so helpful for me. I know a lot of people would maybe shy away from that, but I just like soak it up, because I believe, my true belief at least, is like the level at which you lead yourself, trust yourself, and like heal yourself is truly what will help you get to where you want to go. Because if you're not aware of that stuff, like strategy, I get it. We all need strategy, but that's like 10% of the game, because you can have all the strategy in the world, but if inside you are deeply miserable or don't feel worthy or you kind of hate yourself, like that will come into play to sabotage your efforts or your results or whatever it is. You'll blow up on someone, you'll sabotage a partnership, you'll turn ads off if they're not working the way you want. You'll make disempowered decisions if you're not aware of what's actually going on for you. And so that's always where I start. Even in my own coaching with my clients, I always focus on that. They don't love it all the time, but it is the like kingpin.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I found that it's not sexy, right? Like
No.
people are like, I want the strategy, I want the funnel, I want this technique, I want the email marketing, I want the ads. Like it's like that's the thing that's like sexy because you think you can set it, forget it, and just print cash, right?
Yeah.
But there's a reason why that doesn't work for a lot of people early on, or depending on the stage of where they're doing or what they're offering, all these things. It's like you got to step into that, you got to become that. And I'm grateful that you've done that work because of what you've done with Millionaire Girls Club. Is I have friends that have attended, been a part of it, and they have loved it. And not just that, but like every time you do a retreat, I just get transported on
You live vicariously through us, Jake.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to
You're
be
one
part
of the
girls
girls.
club, but it's amazing. And so what do you do on these retreats, right? You talk about luxury, you talk about bougie social club, and like that's awesome. So what do you do on these retreats? What's like the Millionaire Girls Club, and like how do people become part of it?
We feel our feelings. No, I'm kidding. But that is a big part of it. It's funny because that used to really trip me up, being like, oh, my mastermind or my retreat isn't businessy enough. But these chicks, like, they've got it. They've hit it. They know, they've figured out the strategy. Yes, you can always pull some extra levers or get some cool strategies that'll help you streamline or go to the next level or whatnot. But really, the emotional side of things, personal power, self-leadership, self-trust, like all the triggers that we all operate under, that is what blocks people from their next level. And so that is a huge portion of what we do. And so for our last one in Sedona, well, I have getaways and I have retreats. Retreats currently are open to people not in the club, and then getaways are clients only. So just if you're in the club, which is my social club, for year-long experience, then you come to getaways as well. So in Sedona, we did the first one. I had a guest, Andrea Crowder. She came in and led a session around removing obligatory energy from your business and prioritizing pleasure over pressure. And just like how you can start to spot that and how you can remove obligatory energy. Like as we were working through this, or I was talking to someone after the event and she had watched my Sedona stuff and I was telling her about obligatory energy and she's like, that's my whole business. And I was like, oh, imagine that, like that is just like such a heavy feeling. And so we worked through that kind of stuff. And then that night we went and had like a private chef dinner on this beautiful terrace. And then the next day we did a hike, and then we did a spa point, like massages. And then we had lunch, and then we had an intuitive channeler, because we love the woo. And she did guided visualizations and readings for everyone. And then from there we went out for dinner. And I mean, it's just like, from there we went to sound healing and then to dinner, and then, had a little blast afterwards. And it's just always, I like to keep it dynamic, engaging, and focused on them, not just, everything outside of them, the strategies, the hacks, the funnels, the ads, the launches, all of that. I get it. We love it. And this is the stuff that'll create true velocity in your business.
Absolutely. And I mean, I've found too, like, look, anybody can learn the tactics on their own, right? Anybody can hire someone, join a course, take a class, watch YouTube, whatever. Like, you can learn most of the tactics alone. Sure. Does it help to hire a coach who can give you some of the systems, the processes, the basic structures, the templates? Yeah, that stuff can make the learning faster. But what I have found as we've scaled Big Idea to Bestseller is like being in the room with the right people and allowing yourself to be vulnerable with those people is the most expansive way to grow. And it's not always the business talk or the strategy talk. And I've had to learn this because I'm a strategy, like analytical, like, let me look at the numbers and let's go. Right?
Yeah.
But
can I look at your scorecard?
yeah, like I love that shit, But like when I'm in these rooms and we're going to dinner or we're, saying, we're figuring out who wants what type of margarita, something clicked and there's a friendship.
Original, please.
Yeah. And me too. And then there's something clicks, you bond over something. All of a sudden that leads to, oh my gosh, you got to meet this person. You got to meet this person.
Yes.
One thing leads to the next and your business has grown, but you didn't even intend for it. And that's when you're removing some of the pressure and you're removing some of this like expectation and you're letting life happen and you're stepping into that. And so I really, really like what you're saying. And I want to ask you this though, because I hear this all the time from people who want to go from I'm leaving corporate to starting my business, which I know is, screw the 9 to 5. I know it quite well. is like that space, right? And then you also have the people who are going from the early 6 figures to the mid and 7 figures. And then of course you have beyond that. But what I want to know from you is like, where do you think in each journey, in each of those revenue stages, do we need to be taking bigger risks? Or how can we take bigger risks if we don't have the finances, I'm putting in quotes, to make some of those risks? Like, what are the ways we can make those risks to step into that person if we can't necessarily afford to be that person at that moment of time? Because I see this a lot.
I think it comes down to like, do you see yourself to be resourceful? Like if you're a person who identifies as I'm a resourceful person, and also not just resourceful, like if you trust yourself, I think that is so fucking big. Like this is going to sound like such a name drop, but it wasn't. Like I was at Amy Porterfield's house because I was going there to shoot something with her. And we were having this kind of conversation. I was saying, she's like, what feels like, why do you feel different? Because I haven't seen her in like 2 years. And I said, honestly, I've walked through the fucking fire lately. Excuse me. I've come out the other side of like a massive expansion portal. But 2, what I really think it comes down to is I deeply, deeply trust myself. Like I know no matter what, I've got it. And so if there's an investment I want to make, I know no matter what, I've got it. Like I'll figure it out. I'll find a way to make it happen. Like if I feel called to something, if I know that is my move, I'm doing it. Because I think it's so important. Like, I don't think everyone needs to stretch themselves beyond their comfort level or their capacity financially for this exact reason. If you do not actually have the cash and you do not trust yourself and you do not see how you'll make that back, or you do not identify as a resourceful person, that is going to cause so much fucking stress for you. And that level, that's like dark cloud energy. Right? Because no matter what you're doing, it'll be like, I made a mistake. You know what I mean? Like it's just always going to haunt you. However, if you are the type who is resilient, resourceful, you trust yourself, you know this is your move, you know you're going to maximize it, then yeah, find whatever way you can to make it happen, because who you become on the other side of that decision is what you're after. Because so often people make decisions or moves from their current circumstances. And what I've always found to be best is like, who do I want to be? Like my ultimate version of myself. Who do I want to be? Okay, great. I've got that sorted. What decision would she make? If this is like, of course I would invest in this, then that's my move, because I want to make decisions in service of her. And so I know that if I want to shortcut my time between me right now and future me, well, then I need to make the decision she would make. I need to take the kind of action she would take. I need to be the kind of version she would, or person she would be. I need to have the beliefs, the thoughts, the feelings, like all of that. It's all of it. And so it's not like, is this smart? It's like, am I resourceful enough to make it happen if I truly want it?
Mic drop. That was fantastic. I love it. I love it. Keep it going here. So let's talk about this, okay? Because you've mentioned your risks as you've gone through it. You've walked through the fire. You've come out of your, we'll call it butterfly. You're now a flying butterfly.
I like that.
And you're flapping your wings and you're soaring to new heights. We'll play with the metaphor here.
Yeah,
let's go into this, Joe, which is, how do you see yourself taking bigger risks? Like, what's your vision? What's your identity that you're continuing to step into at this point? And what risks are you looking at taking to show that you trust yourself?
Well, the essence of success for me, like I've really started to do a lot of work around this. The essence of success for me is peace. And so I realized through fucking all the years that I was chasing money, I was doing that because I thought it would give me peace. And that's what I really want deep down, And so the success, quote unquote, successful version of me, well, she's work optional, right? Her investments sort out her lifestyle if she wants it to. She's peaceful. She's relaxed. She's got relaxed money, like she's not worrying about it. She's not thinking about it. She's cashed the fuck up. She's diversified. She makes smart decisions. She has a badass team of A players. Her clients would never dream of leaving her community, and people who are on the wait list would do anything to be a part of it. And so how do I create and curate those kind of experiences? Well, one of my moves for myself was similar to my idea for MGC. I had like a second idea that it was like, that's the move. I get two main objections in my business: dates. So I've been the psychopath who has searched every fucking school holiday around the dates of my thing in all the countries and all the states that my clients come from. And I chose a time that has no school holiday dates or conflicts. So if someone hits me with that, I'll be like, actually, I've searched that.
Objection in your district, in your county. Yeah. I went to your school.
I talked to the principal. And then the second one was, oh, I'm not there yet, but when I am, and I was like, how do I fix that? Because I can fix that. I can help the chicks who want to hit 1 million. Like, that is my wheelhouse with Screw the 9 to 5, is like helping people make more money. And so I started the division, Her First Million. And when I talked it out to someone, they were like, I don't know. Like, that kind of seems like it takes you off your path, or it's like you're like broadening your niche. And I was like, okay, I have two choices here. One, I could do what I used to always do, which is abdicate my power and think that they know better than me. Or two, I can really root into like, do I know this to be a good move for myself? And like the answer was such a full body fuck yes for me, that I was like, I totally appreciate that. I see where you're coming from. I'm still going to do it though. And that's my move, And so now I have the second division. And so I guess you could deem that as like a quote unquote risk. As I, get my like whole paid evergreen funnel going, cranking ads. Like, I guess you could deem that as a risk. I just don't know if I view anything as a risk because, one, I trust myself, and two, I don't really believe that if I quote unquote fail at something, it's game over for me. Like, I know how to make money. Like, my energetic set point with money is a lot of money. So I don't need to worry that I'm going to be broke living under a bridge, And so I know how to make hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. And so I just trust myself. I know that no matter what, even if I do fall on my face, I'll figure it out. Some of my biggest biggest wins have come off the back of falling on my face.
Have you found it to be really empowering? Because you mentioned a few things there. I want to pinpoint one, which is the abdication of power. Do you find
Yes.
yourself living a more peaceful life when you make the choices that are that full body fuck yes, even if they don't end up being a home run? But do you find yourself achieving your definition of success at this moment, which is that peace, more so than if you were to have just listened and taken the route of somebody else?
Yes, because anytime I've taken someone else's opinion over mine, I've always had wobbles with it. I've always felt like, why the fuck did I do this? This is so frustrating. Why didn't I knew that this wasn't my move. Why did I do this? And not to make it like a dude or a girl thing, but often in the past, I used to abdicate my power to dudes thinking they knew better than me. So I had so many dude coaches, right? And they'd be like, you got to do this and grind and hustle and me. And I'll be like, sounds great. And I would like burn myself out for what? Like significance, status, like I'm so over that shit in this space. This space I find can be so performative. And yet when you get to know someone and you get to see like the human behind the performance, it's like empty. And I realized I didn't want that anymore. Like I've been in this game for too long. I see what it is, or what it has been at least. I think more and more people are really coming online with the like inner work stuff. I think they're starting to realize, oh, fuck, this is like, I'm not happy, or I have all this money, but I have all this pressure or all these obligations, or I don't like what I'm doing. Or, you know, I was talking to someone and they were talking about like, yeah, but I just need to hit this amount. And it's like, so I've hired this consultant and this person and this blah, 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 blah. And it was really only 5 million from where she's at to where she wants to be. Now I know that sounds like a lot of money, but when you're making tens of millions of dollars, like 5 million, like that's relative, right? And so I said to her, what if that next 5 mil is not anything, like not any of the strategies or hacks you think it might be? What if it is actually you tuning into this work and deepening this for yourself and doing it from like an energetic standpoint, not just like, if I push more, if I prove more, if I do more, then I'll hit it. It's like, what if I just be more of myself, have better standards, have better boundaries, have better levels of trust for myself, better leadership for myself, you know, like what's the fucking point if you don't even like the journey that you're on? That's like an actual trap.
I couldn't agree more. I was talking about this with someone the other day, and it's like, people are talking to me, I have this much revenue, but I'm grinding myself to a bone. Our profit margins are minimal, but on paper, I'm killing it. I'm doing 6 million a year, 10 million a year, 20 million a year, but they're not making investments. As you said, they don't have relaxed money. They're working for every single penny. And while there's greatness within that, that's not necessarily what makes a great life. And I think what's so important, and this is something that my mom used to always text me before every basketball game when I was playing high school, because I would get stressed out and I was always just focused on the performance, right? Like, I got to do this. I need to do this. Like, and she would text me and she'd say, live in the moment and enjoy the journey. And I find that when we can, in this space, we can see the headlines, we can see the ads, we can see the next milestone, and we want to go only for that. But if you take a second and you think about it and you're like, you know what? I'm running my own business. I'm setting my own hours. I'm in a relationship with someone that I love, right? Whether that's you or whether that's with a partner, whether it's both, like whatever, you can sometimes realize like, fuck, like I already won. And so like, I wake up like I already won. Like if my business disappeared tomorrow, I'm still a freaking winner, right? I love the game and I want to play the game. And that's what it really sounds like you're embodying as you build MGC and as you build Her First Million. And so as we kind of head here to like the last few minutes of this conversation, Jill, I want to talk about Her First Million, right? So this is a new division. You're excited about it. You're trusting yourself to go all in on this. Talk to me about who this is for and what is it? Is it going to be products? You mentioned funnels, ads, you mentioned all this stuff. Like, what are you going to be including in it? Are you building a whole business out of it? What's kind of like the focal point?
First, I need to go back to the game.
Okay. We'll play the game. I know your timeline, so I'll make sure we close it up on time today. Don't you worry.
Jake, I already told you I'm going to go over time. Just get on board with it. But I think that, like, look, I think there are people who love playing the game. And if that ticks the boxes for you, you should absolutely play the game. But if it does not serve you, right? If you are like doing it from a place of proving energy, I find that so much in this space. It's done from a place of proving I'm smart enough, I'm good enough, I'm worthy enough, I'm successful enough, I'm rich enough, I'm insert anything here, right? That is the empty shit. Because you can't make enough money to fill that. And
Mhm.
so then you get in a trap of like, why am I doing this? Why am I working so hard? I don't even have like, if my margins are actually thin, that I think is like the worst trap, because you're like, God damn, I'm doing all of this for this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have this huge nest egg. That to me is the most frustrating piece of the proving game, is like, you're just, I asked someone this the other day because she's doing big things in our space. And I said, do you know what the essence of success is for you? And she's like, no one has ever asked me that. And I said, is it significance for you? Because she's on a big ass stage. And she's like, and I was like, is it contribution? She's like, nope. So that was like, because so often we're like, oh, but I'm altruistic with my money, or I'm a giver, or I'm generous, or whatever. It's like, we try to like be something so that other people, like, our success or money is more palatable to their own
Right.
triggers and shit, And so I said to her, like, that awareness, like figuring out what the essence of success is for you, because then you can live it every fucking day. You don't
Yeah.
have to wait till some mythical goalpost, which you most certainly will keep pushing, because if you don't have clarity, it's just going to be like, well, I'm not there yet. It doesn't feel good yet. I should be feeling better by now. It should, you know what I mean? And you'll just should all over yourself. You put limits all over yourself, conditions all over yourself. And that just zaps your spirit. And I am very passionate about it.
I can hear it. I'm jumping back in here before we go to her first million. We're going for it. So you've talked about a couple of books. And I do believe the Happy Pocket Full of Money, I do believe I read that because of your recommendation
Yes.
a while ago.
I tell everyone about it.
And I've passed that along, and I think it changed the way I saw things a little bit. But there's another book. We're talking about the game, and we're talking about money, we're talking about mindset, we're talking about evolution, we're talking about success. And there's a book called The Psychology of Money.
I love that book.
And in that book, my takeaway, there are a lot of takeaways, but one of the things that I love, and we're going to tie it all together here, is it talks about playing the game of money. Mm-hmm. And when we look at money in this book, right? When we look at money, everybody has a different upbringing and perspective of money. Mm-hmm. And yet everybody thinks they're playing the same game. But the truth is, everybody's playing a different money game with a different set of rules based on the beliefs they had around money growing up as a child. And so when one person says, I want this, another person says they want this, even if you're going after the same goal, the way you perceive that game is different. The actions you have to take are different. And this is a great correlation to investing in yourself, playing the outer game, playing the strategy game, playing the inner game. You got to know what the fuck game you want to play.
Yeah.
Create the rules to that game and go win that game. And if you do that, you're going to find yourself living a much happier and fulfilled life.
I couldn't agree more. And that book like really got me into the habit of moving money every day. Like we call it our money moves. And every day might seem extreme for some people, but we love the habit of doing it every day. And so every day when cash comes from Stripe into our bank, we like move it into our investments or into our runway account or I run events. So obviously I have a lot of events expenses. So I'm always like putting cash into that, or we have our opportunity fund or our work optional account or our sabbatical account, like all these things that we want to do. And that has given me such a like calm relationship, like a peaceful relationship with money, relaxed money, like that. I feel supported by it. I'm never worrying, oh my God, am I going to run out of money? Which used to be a huge trigger for me. Because I did not have the stable kind of like strategies or procedures around money. I just was like viewing success as an event, not as a journey. And so that book was huge for me. Like I loved that book. And I also find it so interesting that his whole investment strategy at the end, he's like, I invest in index funds. And we're all like, what? Like we expected you to have this like whole diversified strategy. But that was like such a beautiful reminder, like keep it simple. So yes. So one, identifying like what you grew up believing about money. For me and Josh, it was always there's never enough, or like us versus them, like, oh, that's for rich people. And so like removing that pedestal energy has been big for me. Like they're just humans, calm the fuck down, and so removing that, getting clear on money beliefs, getting clear on like deep-seated scarcity, that's been huge. And I do that stuff through breath work, visualizations, obviously working with coaches, doing my own inner work, all of that. That's been huge for me.
I
Reading
love it.
books.
I
Yeah.
love it. So let's talk about her first million.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Talk to me about what the game plan is here and how we're blowing this thing up.
Yeah. So this is because, so in MGT, I don't really need to coach. Like those chicks have got it. That is more of a community connection play for me. Curation is my main job inside Millionaire Girls Club. Inside her first million, I do believe there is some coaching that needs to happen. So it's for women, course creators, coaches, membership site owners, service providers who are at 250 grand plus and are hungry to hit that million in the next 12 to 18 months. And so we do that. The offer itself is kind of a hybrid. So it's a 3-month program at the front. So identity, offer, sales. Those are the 3 key levers I believe you have to pull in order to make $1 million. So identity, number one, of course, we just spent this whole episode talking about that. Offers, like, do you have scalable offers? Do you have an ascension? Do you have ways to maximize profit? And then of course, sales is like, how the fuck are you going to sell that? How are you going to market your stuff? And so we hit all 3 of those. So that's a group offer. And then there's one-on-one involved in that. And then at the end of the 3 months, we also have a 4-day luxury retreat. The first one is in Phuket, Thailand, which is going to be so fun. And then when you finish the first round of the 3 months and after the retreat, you can then choose to come back for another round of the 3-month program. I find that in high ticket offers that are, quote unquote, shorter amounts of time, 3 months, people get like, oh my God, I need to like make sure I get my like investments worth. And so I was like, I hate that energy. I'm going to nix that. And so you come in for 3 months, you take action, we do the things, you go off, you execute on your own, you make some money, you put some offers in place, some funnels, all that kind of stuff. And then you come back for another round so we can tighten things up, add another injection of cash and really soar to pass the $1 million mark. And then once that happens, then you're invited into the club.
I dig it. I dig it. You've made this business so peaceful for you. And that's something that's really so cool because everyone's like, what's the offer suite? What's the thing that I need to do? What's my ticket? Should I go this route, this route, this route? And the truth is it differs. Some people are better doing high ticket coaching. Some people are better going for a membership site. Some people are better at handling the risk of running ads versus doing things organically. Like every person
love
is
ads
different.
versus organic.
Well, yeah. And I mean, we don't have time to go into that, but we should talk about that because I know you love your no free.
I'll just quick say, like, yeah, I fucking hate free stuff on the front. I will not do it. I refuse. But that's just a standard I've set for myself because I went through years and years and years and years and years of offering free shit. And I just see people don't take it as seriously. So for a standard for me is like, no, I'm not doing that. You pay to play in my world. But for traffic, I'm like, I would so much rather go to the traffic store and buy customers. Like, that's just my perspective. I don't want to slug it out organically on social media. Like, no, that's just, I'm not available for that. I'm a human design manifester. So I'm like, no, I will not do that. And so my chosen path, I know it's not for everyone, but my chosen path is ads with a sprinkle of like, I'm going to have a podcast. I have my social media, that kind of shit.
Of course. No, I love it. And soon you'll have a book that you'll tack on to this and all this great things.
A psychic told me I was going to write a book this fall. And I was like, no, I'm not like that. I'm sorry. And she's like a gifted ass psychic. She's predicted some big shit in my life. And when she said that, I was like, I think you might be wrong here. Because I can't figure out what a book would be for. I just don't have anything that I want to get behind yet.
Hey, when it's ready.
Yeah. You're my first call, obviously. You're my first call.
But I've loved chatting, catching up, hearing everything. And I appreciate you sharing this stuff. I think that sometimes we try to ask questions just on podcasts to just like get the hot secret, fill the space. Like, I'm doing the podcast, we're building the network. But like, the truth is these conversations are rewarding for both of us and for everyone that's listening. And so I appreciate you coming on the show. How do we connect with you? How do we sign up to work with you? How do we pay to get into your world? Like, where do we go? Yeah. We ain't signing up for an email right now. We're signing up to pay.
You will not sign up for an email. So the easiest way to get in my world currently, as I build everything, is just through IG at the Millionaire Girls Club. Or if you want to just get a taste of what I do inside Millionaire Girls Club, millionairegirlsclub.com. And then I'll have HFM stuff, her first million stuff. I have a crash course coming, all of that kind of stuff that'll be launching in the next month or so.
Heyo, heyo.
Heyo,
We'll make sure to
heyo.
link it all together. I got one final question for you here,
Hit me.
and then we'll do all the cool thank yous at the end and tell everyone where to go and all that good jazz. But let's keep it real here. Okay,
Mhm,
you've done the work. You continue to do the work.
mhm,
There's somebody out there that has a dream of writing a book, has a dream
mhm.
of leaving their job and starting their own side hustle, of making their first million. What's the one thing, the first thing that you would encourage someone to do who's seriously committed about getting to that next level of their own definition of success?
Do I have to pick one?
You could say as many as you want. We just have 13
Number
minutes.
one, it's like yeah, I told you we were gonna go over. You're like, no, we won't. I'm a closer. I'm like, watch.
Well, I'm good with it. Like, I'd rather go longer, but we good. We good.
Okay, so my answer is always going to be layered. Number one is figure out what you want. And you don't have to have the whole vision sorted. I actually don't think that that's like, I don't know what my life is going to look like in 3 years. I could not 3 years ago, 2020, when the whole world fucking fell apart. Like, I did not know I would be back in Thailand running MGC, like having her first million. Like, I just never saw that for myself. So there's no way I could have predicted who I would be. But where do you want to be? Who do you want to be? And where do you want to go in the next 18 months to 2 years, especially if you're at the beginning? Like, what is that mile marker for you? What is that goalpost for you? Next, who do you have to be that version of you? What are the decisions they would make? What are the thoughts they would think? What are the beliefs they would operate under? What are the standards they would set for their lives? Right. And then 3 is like, is there someone I could help to help me, or excuse me, someone I could hire to help me shorten the path? Is there like, what are the key things I need to know? Always, I like niche, offer, sales and marketing. Like, that's pretty much, if you're just at the beginning, that's obviously who are we serving? How are we serving them? How can I sell it? What is the offer? And how do I market it? Like, that's pretty much the whole game right there. But yeah, I know my answer always comes back to this, but like, I would start working on my emotional intelligence like immediately. I would learn how to lead myself, especially when you're in the beginning stages. Like, if you're in the 0 to 100 grand, bruh, it is emotional, like, it is such an emotional process for people, because also, especially if they were in a job before, they are in employee mindset. They have not switched into entrepreneur mindset, which is rooted in risk and discomfort and stretching yourself and proving to yourself that you can do something, like, you have to become a different version of yourself to go from employee to entrepreneur. It's just like, you can't operate the same as you used to. It's just like, it's not going to work. You will hit walls, and you will continuously hit walls until you upgrade that identity for yourself. And so number one is always identity work, emotional intelligence, building that trust for yourself, building, like, getting into the habit of leading yourself through emotional stuff, because it's going to come up real fast and real frequent in the beginning. And so, like, not attaching to the hysteria of the emotions you feel and instead being like, what is really at the root of this? Like, what am I really scared of? Am I scared that I'm going to lose money, or people are going to judge me, or I'm going to fail, or I'm going to be rejected, or I'm going to be abandoned? Like, what is that? And then it's like, once I'm clear on that, it's like, okay, do I choose to believe this is true for me? Do I want to attach to this, or would I like to do the work to heal it? So number one, that, and then of course we figure out who we want to serve and how we want to serve them, and then we go create it. Like, action, especially in the first little bit, is how you create momentum. And action is how you create competence, which is how you create confidence. I think so often, I was talking to a private client of mine, and she's venturing into a whole new space. And she's like, oh, I just thought it'd be easier by now. And I was like, first, take that back right now. I will not listen to that. I would so much rather experience discomfort from a place of starting something new than experience the discomfort of stagnation. Like, fuck that. You know what I mean? Like, that is like death to an entrepreneur. When something isn't growing, something's stagnant, something's plateaued, you're like, oh, I hate this. I'd so much rather feel the discomfort of being new at something, or trying something new, or taking a risk. And so that's my long-winded answer that I don't even know if it has like an end point to it. It's just,
It didn't
lean
need an
into
end
the
point.
discomfort, friends.
It got notes points. All right. It didn't need an end point. We got notes on that. That's a great way to finish up the show. Jill, thanks so much for coming on the show. For everyone that listened to this, I want to challenge you to take one thing that Jill said today, whatever it is, whether it was something she said about identity and inner work, whether it was something about like holding yourself to a higher standard, whether it was figuring out what you want. I want to challenge you to pick one thing from the show and go tackle that thing. She just finished up with a great answer of taking action, and I want you to do that. So if you enjoyed this, let Jill know, let me know. But other than that, have a great time and let's fucking go. Jill,
Let's
thanks for coming
go
on the show.
Thanks, Jake.